Hey everyone, we'll get started. Um, Thanks for joining our session today on Microsoft Teams and Salesforce. From Centro, I'm Ryan Hitchler, and with me today is my co-founder Regina Ashwaya. And we'll get right into it here. So, um, why Microsoft Teams? The agenda will kind of go like this. We'll talk about why those two things make sense together. We'll talk a little bit about our background with Slack and Salesforce, what we've built over the last 5 years and how that plays into the Teams integration we just built. We'll do some demos and use cases around Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and a preview of our beta for Agentforce and Teams. You may have heard of Slack and Teams. We're bringing that experience into the Microsoft Teams platform. And then because this is centered around consulting partners in the Salesforce space, SIs, how we can help you grow your practice with workplace chat. Then we'll take some questions. So we'll go pretty speedily through this. First thing to point out is why Teams? Between Slack and Salesforce, those two are dominant within the workplace chat sort of ecosystem. Of course, Salesforce bought Slack in 2020 for 27 billion. And regardless, Teams is still dominant as the number of customers and number of daily active users. It's about 5x the size of Slack. And so that's a big base to consider, as well as Slack itself. Of course, as you all know, there's the 150,000 plus Salesforce customers. So between those two, the system of record of Salesforce and these two workplace chat ecosystems, that covers most people in the B2B space. Average users spend 9 hours connected to one of these apps and 90 minutes directly. Just to give a little more color to the ecosystem itself, Teams is sort of what we found is to be mid to enterprise focused, so mid-market and above. While Slack has, as we've learned, 50% of their base is ESMB, and then the rest of the 50% is split between commercial and enterprise. They're both very much industry agnostic. And we have found a lot of companies have both Slack and Salesforce. In fact, there's this notion of shadow IT where you have a department maybe buys Slack, maybe the whole company's on Microsoft Teams and they use it for both chat and video, but they also have maybe the engineering department has Slack, something like that. So a little bit about our background. We come from a long line of product building in the CRM space. We built the product Action Grid, which got sold to Conga in 2016. After helping to run Conga's engineering team for 4 years, we founded Centro in 2020, focused on Salesforce and Slack. We thought that was an interesting space, and Slack, maybe that's validating or a little scary. When Salesforce bought Slack in 2020, and we've been finding niches. As you probably know, Salesforce leaves a lot of white space for partners like us to expand in. So we have been doing this for 5 years. We've seen a lot of use cases. We've seen a lot of implementations. And that's reflected on our 5-star review on the App Exchange, these G2 crowd. This is our latest batch of them. And we are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, as well as listed on the App Exchange, the Microsoft App Source, and the Slack App Directory. So we wanted to bring, one last point on that. We wanted to bring that experience we had with Slack in Salesforce and apply it to Microsoft Teams, the biggest of the two major workplace chat platforms. So what do we offer? We have UI elements that are native to those three platforms. So on the Salesforce side, we have Lightning Web Components that is primarily showing what we call linked conversations. Those are basically embedded Slack or Teams inside a record. We have Slack Block Kit. We use a concept called a record block that's a native to Slack to show and display information from Salesforce. And then Teams has a similar concept called adaptive cards, and we've used those as well on the team side. So all the integration looks native to the platform the user is in, and it looks and feels natural to be in those environments. The automations, this is helpful for anyone who's trained up on Salesforce, especially Flow. So we have over a dozen Flow elements, do all sorts of complex things like sending notifications, creating channels, inviting users, updating channels, those sorts of things. And we've heard it all, so we've built a lot there. And you'll find that is much more in depth than the out-of-box integration that Salesforce offers, especially on the team side. For the Slack and Teams side, there's event triggers that can be from a message event, like a message hitting a channel, someone reacting to a message, like an emoji. Lots of ways to trigger events from those workplace chat platforms back into Salesforce. And then finally, we have Centro AI. We've been doing Slack summaries and basically embeddings and RAG for Salesforce and Slack, and we'll have that introduced to Teams shortly. But our play for the AI space will be showing Agentforce agents in Teams, and we'll talk about that soon. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to the demo, and Regina will take over with Sales Cloud.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Let's dive in. So we're going to go ahead and demonstrate a lot of what you can see and what Ryan talked about between Salesforce and Teams. First, we're going to start by creating a new account. And what we're going to have happen on the team side is create a channel within a team of in Microsoft Teams. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new account. I'm going to go ahead and select type of customer. And this is triggering automation in Salesforce Flow to create a new Teams channel. And what we're going to do here, both in Microsoft Teams, it's very important to be able to both work within the Teams channels here that we see on my screen, where we have the team of customer and our new account channel of webinar demo account. This again is posting the record block that Ryan mentioned earlier to ensure that this channel is now linked. But we're also going to work within chats. And this really allows you to bring the experience right where your clients live, whether they work mostly in channels or chats. Back on the Salesforce side, if I refresh my live link, I now have that channel linked directly to this account where I can go ahead and make comments and posts that will display directly in Teams. When we have this live link back and forth, one of the key pieces is around collaboration, specifically with opportunity deal rooms. So I'm just going to move in my Salesforce into my new webinar demo opportunity. In addition to creating those channels and chats through automation, I can also do it manually. So by clicking on this create and link channel, I'm going to go ahead and create a new chat called Opportunity Webinar Demo. I can also invite different users to this chat, so that way the right people are involved at the right time. Like I mentioned before, moving seamlessly and working well between channels and chats is incredibly important. Notice again, I have my chat linked here, and I can message. Additionally, through my live link, I can emoji react and send emojis directly to Teams. Working on the Teams side, I now have a new chat called Webinar Demo, where those messages display here. On the Microsoft Teams side, I can edit this opportunity and make changes that will reflect directly in Salesforce. A couple of changes that I want to make is I want to go ahead and I'm going to push the opportunity date out a couple of days. And I'm going to go ahead and change my stage to proposal price quote. One of the key pieces that we provide here at Centro is making sure that data changes in Salesforce are reflected in those chats and channels to save people time in communication. So here you can see we have two notifications, one that outlines the stage change and one that outlines that the date has been pushed out by 3 days. All vital information when collaborating on an opportunity. The other piece here is when we want to bring in outside people into this opportunity. So for example, in a deal desk. So when this opportunity gets moved to proposal price quote, I post that similar record block to the deal desk channel. This deal desk channel is really specific to the sales operations team that maybe is looking to review discounts and terms to get the deal done. What this does on the Salesforce side, by having both items linked directly to the live link channel, I have the collaboration above, but I also have a specific thread linked where we're discussing those sales operation tasks to keep that collaboration clean and separated. Finally, in Teams, when I want to do some approvals, I can also have custom buttons that pop forms that allow end users to update data in Salesforce. Now, these forms can be controlled by either the Salesforce user themselves or by an automation user. This allows non-Salesforce users to make updates to Salesforce when necessary. This can be very helpful for pulling in legal teams, finance teams, and other teams that might not need a Salesforce license for general day-to-day business, but need to be pulled in very specific instances. What we have here is an updated opportunity where we have approved the discount, and now we're ready to move on to get that paperwork signed. The final demonstration I'd like to do is around Service Cloud. In this case, we're going to be focusing around the case object. Here I have a DM with Tim Schultz, and he has an issue with his computer. I want to quickly create a case without leaving Teams. By clicking on the message shortcut, I can create a case. What it will do is it will automatically pull in the message from the Teams app, and then I can just add a quick note. This is going to create a case in Salesforce, case 1037. Additionally, it's going to create a chat between Tim and myself, so that way we can collaborate on the case in context of the case. Additionally, I have more custom buttons that are available, including close case and meeting URL. This allows someone who did not create the case to close the case if the issue has been resolved. If we navigate back to Salesforce, we can see we have case 1037 available. Again, we have that linked conversation here that I can then use to chat directly into Teams. This is very helpful for users where the agents are really supposed to stay in Salesforce, but want that collaborative chat experience without leaving. One additional piece here is I can do app mentions directly in my Teams chat without leaving Salesforce, and we can see that displayed here. The last piece is similar to the deal desk, but again, we want to focus on the case and Service Cloud use case. When I go ahead and change the status of this case to escalated, I go ahead and I post this case to my channel. Again, I'm getting that information sent directly to the collaboration chat here. But again, in my Teams channel, where other folks are involved, I've escalated to the escalation chat, where the engineering team might be involved. And then I can ask for, what is the Jira ticket, and collaboration and items move much quicker. The last piece I want to focus on in the Teams app is our grid functionality. So within my Centro app, I have a grid of my cases. This can display all the cases that are assigned to me, and I can directly edit these cases and make changes if interested. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan for the Agentforce demo.
Thanks, Regina. So this will be a sort of a preview of what we're doing with Agentforce in Teams. So bear with us. This is in security review with Salesforce, and this is basically a beta. But the idea is in our Centro app in Teams, we'll have exposed any active agents in this tab that you can essentially start chatting with. So here I've selected this agent. It's created me a channel to interact with the agent. And I can start asking it things. I won't go too far into explaining Agentforce if you haven't heard of it. There's plenty of videos from Salesforce. I'm sure if you've been to any events from them recently, you've seen plenty about Agentforce. But essentially, we're adopting the concepts of Agentforce and Slack with Microsoft Teams. And so that should provide the entire organization who have Teams access to Agentforce capabilities, and it will consume credits without a license and gives employees access to do things like ask the sales team for questions, the product team for questions, or anything that you think of, or deflecting cases, things like that Agentforce is good at, and exposing it within Teams. So here I'm asking it about this account, and it's doing the work to pull that up. This is a little slow, so bear with us on the demo. And here it pulls back the information. We have found that if you play with the prompts, you can actually format this in interesting ways. And that's just more services work generally. So if you're an SI partner that's going to engage in building Agentforce agents, we don't want to do that work. But what we do want to do is expose it to people within Microsoft Teams, and that's a good partnership for us to think about. So, and it may have crashed out on me here. I'll go to a previous one. You can see it's pulling up the opportunities. Oh, there it goes. And then what we're also shipping with is some agent actions to interact with core components within Teams. So that's things like sending notifications. We could possibly do creating channels and chats and adding people. So you could have the agent do that work. So for example, after I did this, I said, let's have a meeting about the EdgeCom renewal. And it found the link conversation and sent a message to that channel so that it's part of that agent build out. Okay, so if you're curious about more about that, we can do a deeper dive. I just wanted to highlight that if you are endeavoring on that Agentforce route, we have some help there. Okay, so let's go back to our slides here. As far as how workplace chat can help grow your practice. So we'll think about it as in these three ways. The whole org implementations, declarative tools that we provide, and then how this looks for quick starts, managed services, and SOWs. So we, as Regina demonstrated, we can include business processes to people who don't have Salesforce necessarily. We can send them notifications. We can give them send a message for them to approve, maybe a quote or an invoice or a contract. And oftentimes those folks don't have a Salesforce license or have a limited license, but we can expose that to them and have them view that data or take action on it. So approvals is a huge one we hear. Advanced CPQ approvals, that's a lot of work. Like that's a lot of declarative work and a lot of custom processes there to consider. And that's usually SI work. Creating deal rooms, adding people to it, closing, trying to get a deal done quickly. That can get pretty sophisticated as well. End users can log activities, cases, leads, and more. So that's pretty common, especially in Slack Connect or shared channels within Teams. Customers are demanding that their customers are demanding of them to create cases in those new mediums. Instead of just sending an email, they want to work in Slack Connect in particular, or shared channels. There's this concept of swarming. Regina highlighted that a bit, where maybe you need to escalate to the engineering team. pull them into a room, ask them a question, and resolve it quickly. That can be really streamlined in Slack or Teams. And having some of that visibility into Salesforce is a nice way to do that through Centro. So like we talked about earlier, we have a lot of flow elements. So if your team's trained up on Salesforce Flow, which I hope they are, we make this really easy. All our flow elements for you, this can be a really profitable endeavor is instead of building a bunch of custom code that's brittle and can, we've learned these lessons over the last 5 years, so you don't have to, and you can have a pretty profitable implementation using our tool set. Finally, the 3 kinds of things we hear in the field are quick starts. So when we finish up selling to a customer, we need help. Like we need some partners to help us build those out. And usually that's starts with a service or sales team, and then they want to build out their initial use case. As soon as they start to see it, they're like, oh, service could probably use this as well. And so there's some expansion opportunities there as well. And we don't really want to do that work. So we want to rely on partners to help us do those build outs. Managed services. So oftentimes once people are comfortable in seeing their work processes show up in workplace chat, then they have ongoing tweaks they want to make to it. So that can all be through managed services, super profitable, just a couple hours of work a month type of thing to field those requests, and pretty nice little package you can set up. And then we hear some pretty complex SOWs. People can go nuts with those CPQ approvals, for example, building out DocGen implementations. So maybe you're using a DocGen tool and it creates a document. You want to send it to Slack or Teams to get approved. Maybe a regeneration process. We do that with FormStack. CLM, there's a ton of work that can be done there as far as sending contracts and redlining and all that other stuff. So there can be some pretty complex that are surfacing more users inside of Teams and Slack that we've seen 30, 80, 120 hours type of SOWs. So lots of interesting work there and can expand your practice into a much broader and forward-thinking organizations. Okay, so I'll pause there. Any questions? And hopefully we kept this short. Yeah, just about 20 minutes or so. I see a first one, which is how much does Centro cost? So let me pull this up here. Our pricing kind of looks like this. So to simplify it, it's basically if you're a user that is connected to Salesforce, so they have a Salesforce license, we usually charge for multiple objects $29 per user per month. And they have access to the full suite of Centro feature sets, both in Slack, Salesforce, or Teams. If they're only using one object, maybe they're just using opportunities or just cases, we do have a limited license to help ease their way into that. But for everyone else, we do have a platform fee concept where we look at the entire organization that's maybe not have a Salesforce license, and we start that at $4 a user for a platform fee, but those can be negotiated pretty quickly based on volume. If they want to have white labeling, multi-org support, we do support enterprise grid, and these can get pretty complicated pretty quickly. We do have an enterprise package as well. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? How long is the average implementation? That's a really interesting question. They can vary. They can be as few as 5 hours. And so, sometimes we'll just handle those. We would like partners to do more of those as we kind of scale up. But they can get pretty sophisticated. I think we saw one partner of ours do about 120 hours plus managed services after the initial SOW. So pretty successful little project. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else right now, but thanks for the time today. And we'll send this recording out so you have it. And if you feel like you have we hope you walk away with, you hear the word Microsoft Teams or Slack, reach out to us. We're happy to help you get some business there and add some service dollars as well. So thanks for your time, and we'll catch you next time.